Arguments are due to begin on Tuesday afternoon in a trial to decide the fate of President Yoon Suk Yeol, who was impeached after his short-lived bid to impose martial law through the country into the worst political chaos in decades. The full-fledged hearing will begin exactly a month after the case was filed on the 14th of last month. The Constitutional Court must decide within 180 days whether to remove Yoon from office or restore his presidential powers. Yoon also faces a criminal investigation for alleged insurrection, with authorities seeking to execute an arrest warrant against after he ignored summons to appear for questioning. Separate to the trial, a joint team of investigators from the Corruption Investigation Office, which is probing Yoon over insurrection, and police are preparing a fresh attempt to arrest Yoon. An earlier attempt failed after Yoon's presidential guards blocked access to investigators. If the new warrant is executed successfully, Yoon would become the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested. If eventually convicted in that case, Yoon faces prison or even the death penalty. All right, we'll go across to my colleague Anil Thomas. He has more details on this. He's joining us live. Anil, South Korea looks set for a dramatic political showdown this week in fact, today, as impeachment proceedings kick off against Yoon Suk Yeol. What do we expect?
Expected lines. 180 days begin today, where this particular constitutional court is going to decide whether, firstly, the former president Yoon Suk Yeol, the decision that he took, especially as a president, whether that's right in the first place. Secondly, does he remain as the president? It's going to be a long drawn battle, if one may see. There are 5 hearings that take place. The first one is today, where Yoon's lawyers have clearly indicated that he's not going to be in court. The second one scheduled on 16th, followed by the third on 21st, 23rd, and the last one on Feb 4th. And a timeline of 6 months to decide the fate of the former president Yoon Suk Yeol. But having said all this, there are precedents where presidents who are on trial or lawmakers who are on trial have not attended these constitutional courts, but yet judgments have come way back in 2004, 2016, 2017. There is precedents of that. But the chief of staff, especially when it comes to the presidential office, has indicated that Yoon Suk Yeol is ready to cooperate in all possible forms, especially when it comes to the Constitutional Court and also when it comes to the investigations that's parallelly on when it comes to matters related to instructions or charges of instruction against him. In that context, it's left open actually. There is political chaos. Remember, South Korea is the 4th largest economy in Asia. What South Korea does has, ramifications across Asia and the world. But all this currently in the political chaos that we've seen in South Korea that's developed over the last 6 weeks, 2 presidents back-to-back being impeached, doesn't leave something good for the South Koreans as well as for Asia and the world in particular. And I think that's where the cause of concern is. Yoon Suk Yeol's lawyers seem to be ready for a long-drawn battle. We'll have to wait and watch how this particular 6-month timeline pans out. And before that, is the chief, the Corruption Investigation Office, who's had one failed attempt at arresting Yoon, are they going once again, making another attempt to attend Yoon and get him, rather in their control?
But a lot can change in 180 days, like you mentioned. But what options does Yoon have now? Political fate in the hands of top court?
Well, very much so. But then, remember 6 weeks of chaos that we have already seen. The decision taken, the decision being overthrown, and the current president who's sitting there, who's rather not ready to, rather wet his shoes in the political muddle that we have seen. He's taken a pretty cautious approach. He's asked for all political parties to come to the table, get something amicable, something that pleases all, which looks unlikely. That leaves, the inevitable is that, a judgment is going to come whether he attends the Constitutional Court or not. But the timeline that he has is 180 days. I think he is looking for, support from other countries in the world, especially his supporters on the ground are looking at, Trump coming as the 47th president of United States of America, maybe some pressure being built on the political force in South Korea. But I think all this is just wishful thinking that his fan base is doing. He's rather connecting. Yoon is connecting with his fan base or his supporters on the ground using social media, and I think he's parked himself in a fortress in Seoul, and that looks unlikely. It's just delaying the inevitable. But in the end, either he getting caught in one of these looks very likely, and I think that's all that Yoon's lawyers are looking to do. They have managed from December. We are almost into the mid of Jan, and if the constitutional judge or the constitutional bench begins its ambit of connecting the dots for the next 180 days, he's found himself in a pretty situation at least till the first week of July.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest on that story.